Hello, welcome to a character meet monster drawing that I spent about 2.5 hours working on. At the start of creating this piece, I was just thinking about twisting forms and trying to distort the human figure. So I started thinking about having a person facing with their torso straight up and then rotating their hips as far as they could, and trying to twist that to its logical extreme and having a hybridized human animal creature that could twist their form and their figure far more than any human ever could. Maybe contortionists can, but it's an exercise that I have tried to push normal figure drawing beyond just looking at a reference and thinking about the human form, but trying to extend it and expand on it and make it look twisted and distorted. For the purposes of this drawing, I've just been starting out with a 2H pencil and now moving into using an HB pencil for rendering. So my thought process through creating this sketch was to combine a human figure and some animalistic qualities, whether it be from like a dog or from a cat, and how they can twist their bodies and rotate their pelvis to almost unnatural degrees, and how you can then relate that to combining some human elements into it to make it feel more uncanny and make it have a grotesque quality to it. And the end result that I was going for at this point, I didn't have in mind. I was just wanting to explore how the shapes interact, how the muscles would move, and since I haven't got a reference for this piece, it's just using the knowledge that building up through doing figure drawing from reference beforehand, and then applying that in a more twisted and grotesque sense. One of the key inspirations for this piece was looking at a lot of Goya's etchings, and that's how I was trying to structure the composition in having a very horizontal and quite elongated pose for this character that he's experiencing pain, and to emphasize that more and to bring it into line with those sort of etchings and to have it more dramatic. It's using the very compressed charcoal to provide the contrast in the background so that the figure pops out and stands out against that, so it looks quite moody and like he is experiencing some kind of torment. I think the way I was conceptualizing this sort of series or these sketches is that they're inverted romanticism, that instead of trying to glorify the body or glorify man and its domination of nature, it's to combine man and nature together and to have the relationship become disturbed and distorted in the process, that there is no difference between the two, that the two end up becoming intertwined, and it leads to something disturbing and nightmarish in the process. But that's sort of reality, even though it's a heightened sense of that in this sort of surreal concept art-esque sketch for a larger piece. So it's lots of working back and forth, building up layers with the graphite, working over with the charcoal, and then going back in with the paper stump to blend out areas so that you're not getting very rough different. It's nice to have differences in texture, but I'm not trying to get it as smooth and burnished with using the paper stump. I want to have a clear and varied amount of shapes and quality of line. So by that I mean having some that are soft edges and some that are hard edges. So some lines are very clearly made from the pencil, but you also have areas where they've been blended, so you have a nice gradient forming and showing highlights, with the highlights having a hard edge and then fading into a gradient. It makes it feel much more realistic and much more believable. I'm not really going for realism, more so believability in the drawing, in having the way that the light is interacting with the figure feel authentic and feel tangible in some way, that this could be a creature or an encounter that you might have. So I made this piece over, I think, 4 sittings, doing about 30 minutes each sitting, and it gives you time to come back and look at the piece afresh and evaluate it in a more objective sense than when you continue to work through it. If I spent 2 hours working on it in one go, I think it would have turned out much worse. I don't think I would have had the same kind of ideas and interpretations of it on the 3rd or 4th revisit, that it changes how I viewed it and how I wanted to take it. I wanted to push it further than I had initially gone. Sometimes I feel a bit timid with taking it into a more refined state by adding something as harsh and as powerful as the compressed charcoal can feel like you're going to destroy the piece sometimes. But it really helped with this one to put that down and then use that foundation brush to blend a lot of that out, so I can now go back in with the kneadable eraser and establish some highlights and really fill in a lot of those grey values that I was missing before, in having only if you think about it in like the lightest of the page is white, and that's the brightest white. You then had maybe 10% grey, a 30% grey, a 50, 70, and then black. But now in going over it with that makeup brush, it then fills in a lot of that space from like the 20 to 50% grey, and it feels a lot more, I guess, subtle in the way that the tones are being rendered, that they start to take on a translucent human quality to them. And it also, like at this point, thinking about the focus of the piece, that I really wanted the attention of the viewer to go towards the face and towards the back. They're the areas that I was most interested in working with when I was working on this one, was trying to create the back and the muscle structure feeling somewhat human, but also foreign and alien. And I think that's the essential quality of an uncanny piece, is to have some familiarity with the subject matter, but to then distort it and tweak it to a position that it feels alien and foreign, but in some way you can relate to it and identify what it is in the most fundamental terms, but also still not be able to fully understand and comprehend what it is, subject matter wise, that is. So at this point, it really is just refining things up. I've established most of the key features, and now it's a lot of texture work where I'm thinking about the surface level texture of his skin and the muscle structure, but also his skeletal structure and how that's affecting the skin on top of it, and how it's going to be changing based on where the light's coming from. And then using that to help direct the eye, and using the makeup brush to help push the eye towards the center of the page. And a lot of that's to do with just having most of the black and most of the grey forming a sort of vignette around those central features. So really flattening out or blocking out the leg, the furthest leg, so that that fades away into shadow, and that's not the focal point at all. That's just meant to help sell the silhouette and sell the pose of the character or creature. But I don't want you having much. I don't want it to be the focal point. I don't want you to spend time looking at it. That's just there as something that you glance at in your peripheral vision, and it's not the focus. So thank you. I hope you got something out of this, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.